Hey everybody, my name is Cloudsnightmare, and this is the Gaming News Weekend Wrap-Up. I hope you had a wonderful holiday weekend. Today we'll be talking about quite a few things that we didn't quite get to last week. We have a new update on Final Fantasy XVI, Xbox games with gold for January have leaked, and every console game front has holiday sales on at the moment, so we'll be covering a few games from each sale. Be sure and like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and subscribe if you'd like to stay up to date with the uploads on the channel from news to reviews. Before we get into the main topics, let's cover some of the quicker stories. First up, Josef Fares, creator of It Takes Two, the Game Awards Game of the Year, says in a recent interview that he would rather get shot in the knee than include NFTs in his games. He goes on to say that gaming is art and says that his team will never have a live service game, specifically citing the fact that focusing on replayability makes no sense when we have problems with people not even finishing the single-player games in the first place. So far, what I know about Josef, the guy is fighting for everything that we want. Never been the biggest fan of live service games, and I really love a single-player game that has an actual beginning and an end. Horizon Forbidden West was rated by the ESRB, so it looks like the February release is actually going to happen, so hopefully we don't see any more last-minute delays. Square Enix's YouTube channel has released a new character trailer for Triangle Strategy. This one covers Frederica Aesfrost, although it's entirely in Japanese. It doesn't seem like an English trailer is out yet, so hopefully we can look forward to that in the next couple of days. If it follows the last video, it may actually be Nintendo that uploads it. I'm not normally someone who wishes for time to speed by, but March is taking its sweet time getting here. I'm hoping that they actually come about and release another demo for Triangle Strategy, just to give us a little taste. Over the holiday weekend, the Nintendo eShop went down. So many new Switches out there, or just people with eShop money were accessing it, that it just died. They did warn us, but it still caught a lot of us off guard. I even put in my last video that it was going to happen, and I still got caught by it. Santa gave my son Splatoon 2, but he wanted to play the single-player expansion. I wish I had known ahead of time to prepare for that, but Santa did me kind of dirty on that one. Guillermo Del Toro was recently asked on the Happy Sad Confused podcast about his comments on Silent Hill during the Game Awards. When asked if he was working on a new Silent Hill, he says, "No, not at all." People had speculated that he was teasing a new Silent Hill game, but apparently his goal was, and I quote, "to tickle the ribs of Konami." It could still be a tease that he's just backpedaling on, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I honestly don't see how Konami would come back to this particular iteration of Silent Hill. Their breakup with Hideo Kojima, and by extension, Del Toro, was a pretty nasty one. Halo Infinite released a cat lovers pack in the shop. It includes ears for your Spartan, and that's sparked some frustration with the route that the monetization is continuing to head in. On top of that, in my own personal experience online, it seems people are going out of their way to target those that are wearing the ears in multiplayer. Treyarch has released a statement on Dan Bunting leaving the company. More specifically, the women of Treyarch have, and they're stating that the workplace is not the place for, quote, sexism, harassment, racism, bigotry, discrimination, or bullying. Dan had previously been accused of harassment and was recommended to be fired by an investigation years ago. Reportedly, Bobby Kotick stepped in to stop that firing from taking place. The statement that they released says that their, quote, highest priority is to have a safe, diverse, inclusive working environment. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, nowhere is the place for any sort of abuse. Hopefully this is a first step towards that goal for Treyarch as a company, but actions speak louder than words. With all of those out of the way, let's get into the main topics for this video. First up, Final Fantasy XVI producer Naoki Yoshida has taken to Twitter to provide an updated timeline for Final Fantasy XVI. They had initially announced that more information would come out in 2021, and seeing as we have 4 days left, I don't think anyone actually thought something more would come out this year. Yoshida has said that due to COVID and having to have people work remotely, it has pushed the game out about half of a year. In the end of the statement, he says that a big reveal is coming in spring of 2022 in order to start building excitement for the game's eventual release. My big hope here is that it does come out late next year. This is one of my most hyped games that I've seen gameplay of, at least. Looking at you, Metroid Prime 4. A medieval-style Final Fantasy again, with the man who turned Final Fantasy XIV around helming it. This is definitely a game to keep our eyes on. So, Xbox games with gold have leaked early, and again, it's by Bilbil-kun at Deal Lab. He's been right with every PlayStation Plus for I think 5 months now, and so here we are with Xbox games with gold. What it looks like is Aground from January 16th to February 15th, and that is a 2D action adventure with crafting and mining. Neurovoider from January 1st to the 31st, which is a twin-stick shooter that has some roguelike elements. Radiant Silvergun from January 1st to the 15th, and that is a Treasure-developed shoot-'em-up from the Xbox Live Arcade days. And then finally, Space Invaders Infinity Gene from January 16th to the 31st. This month's Games with Gold seems to be targeting fans of 2D games. And honestly, this looks to be the best month in a while from them. Their focus has been on Game Pass, leaving Games with Gold to just wither. Hopefully, this is the start of a trend, and we can start to see some more worthwhile games show up in the service. And since it's the end of the year and the holidays are upon us, each system has a ton of games on sale in their shops. So I went through the lists and picked out a few for each system that I will recommend. First up, we will do the Switch. Oxenfree, a spooky teen ghost story. The game has been around for a while, but there's a reason people are still recommending it, and right now it's 80% off. Aegis Defenders, it's an interesting mix between platforming and tower defense. It's a fun game that doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's down 75% off at the moment. Definitely something that I recommend. Moonlighter is an action RPG with a shop sim built into it. It's a very interesting game with a decent amount of depth to it. At 75% off, it's a no-brainer to recommend. I had an absolute blast with it. Now, onto the PlayStation side, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. With the recent poor reception of the PC port, it makes sense that they would put the PlayStation 5 version on a 44% discount. Final Fantasy VII Remake is an incredible action RPG, and I highly recommend it, and the Integrate DLC is just a wonderful bonus. Ys 8 is another action RPG, and this time it's from Falcom. The Ys series has been a staple for years, and this is probably one of the best that they've done, and at 70% off, it's the cheapest that I've ever seen it. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 Enhanced Editions. This is an isometric RPG using the Dungeons & Dragons rules. Specifically, the second one is widely considered to be one of the best RPGs ever made. They are definitely an older style of game, but they're some of my favorites of all time, and they're marked down 70% as well. And finally, Xbox. Death's Door. This is a fantastic little RPG set in a dark world, and it came out this year. It's marked down 25%, and I'm honestly excited to recommend it and get more people on it. Batman Arkham Collection. If you never got around to playing these last generation, this collection includes 3 great games. Arkham Asylum, City, and Night. At an 85% markdown, this is an easy game to recommend. The Witcher 3 Game of the Year Edition. While CD Projekt has hit some hot water with their release of Cyberpunk, this release of theirs is a wonderful RPG with a fantastic world to explore. This edition includes all of the expansion content, and it's marked down 80%. Let me know down in the comments if there are any games I should look into picking up from these sales. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and stay safe out there.